The Barbarian. I watched this the other day. I went out with one of my kids. Most of my kids are pushing almost 30 years old, but I went and seen one of my boys, and he said, "Hey," he said, "have you seen The Barbarian?" And I said, "Yeah, I was thinking about checking it out." He goes, "Hey," he said, "it's really good." So I went to watch it, and I bought it because I watched the trailer. I was like, "Well, this don't look too interesting." This movie is a trip. It really is. It's a trip. There's times I was sitting there shaking my head, going, "Man, don't go down there. Don't leave. Leave. Just leave." I kept saying, "Just go." But man, I'll give you the plot synopsis and we'll go from there. This is called The Barbarian. It's 180. It's 103 minutes. It's 103 minutes, and it's a horror suspense. And traveling to Detroit for a job interview, a young woman books a rental home. She arrives late at night to find that the house is double booked. And a strange man is already staying there. Against her better judgment, which I might say I thought it was against her better judgment. I was like, just get back in the car and just cut your losses and find some rest area on the highway and just fall asleep and just go back home. But anyway, I'm just saying. She, against her better judgment, she decides to spend the evening, but soon discovers that there's a lot more to fear than an unexpected house guest. And, this casting here was pretty good. Man, it had Bill Skarsgård in it. It had Justin Long in it. Remember Justin Long? He was in the first Jeepers Creepers. Georgina Campbell was in it. That's about all I can tell you. But anyway, this thing is sitting at a 92% Rotten Tomatoes. But man, she's there for a job interview. But the thing is, I'm sitting there on the couch watching this late at night. I'm like, man, why would you drive in a neighborhood that's hardly lit up in the first place, but all of a sudden there's this house that's been totally redone. I'm taking whoever. If you watch the movie, you understand what they're doing. It's like it's a Airbnb, they call them, where you can rent a house. But why would you rent a house in that neighborhood? It's beyond so anyway, that's enough of my complaining. But anyway, I'm like, dang, there's no lights. And while she's knocking on the door, it's raining. And she looks down the neighborhood. There's all these tore down houses, burned up houses. And so the guy opens up the door because she tries to find the key. She couldn't get in there. And then she sees the light come on. Yeah, she calls the place because she wants to find out why her key doesn't work. And then when she's walking towards her car, the light comes on. And Bill Skarsgård, his character, he answers the door and he goes, she says, "Hey, I'm supposed to, what are you doing here?" And he says, I rented it. And she goes, "No, I rented it." And then he told her to come in, but she didn't want to come in first, but then he talked her into coming in. And then, they both started calling, and then she sat there and she goes, I just can't believe this. So then she, on her better judgment, he says, "Why don't you just stay here and we'll figure this out tomorrow?" So she decides to stay there. And then, he tries to talk her into drinking some wine, but he didn't make no pass at her or anything like that. But it was a little awkward, though, but he did a good job in that scene. But anyway, flips to the next day. I was like, oh, okay. Flips to the next day. That's what I'm saying to myself while I'm watching this movie. So she goes to her job interview, and the job interview goes good. And then she tells the person where she's staying. And the woman's like, "That neighborhood?" And she goes, "Yeah." She goes, "I wouldn't be in that neighborhood without you." So, automatically she should have picked up that there was something strange about that neighborhood. But when she goes back to that neighborhood, she, somehow she couldn't, she went in there, and when she pulled up, there was this like hobo guy that was a homeless guy, and he was like, hey, come here, hey. He just acted like he was crazy. So she was looking, but when you was watching it, you couldn't see because they made his body look silhouette. And it did look creepy because he was running after her, man, and she barely got in the door, and he goes, get out of here, and she, thinks, and then she starts grabbing her stuff, man, puts it away, man. Then she, what did she end up doing? Because I was like, she goes downstairs for some strange reason. I do not know why. Because did she go downstairs? Anyway, for some reason, she decided to go downstairs. And then when she went downstairs, the door shut and locked her in. And then when she was down there, she was scared because, well, I don't understand why she went down there in the first place. But she went down there. And then she was sitting there because she was trying to wait on Bill Skarsgård's character to come home and open up the door and find her down there. But then when he pulls, when he comes home, she sees him walking around the grass and she's banging on the window down the basement. He goes, "What are you doing down there?" And then he opens up the no, she ends up finding the secret door. And then she goes down the secret door. She finds this bed with a camera. That I thought was a little creepy. And then she starts going through this hallway. I mean, this house had a long tunnel of stuff, man. There was cages in there. You knew there was something twisted in there. Well, then she heard a noise, so she decided to run back, and then she thought she heard something, so it scared her, I think. Well, then anyway, she goes back, and then she sees Bill Skarsgård's character, and then he ends up letting her out. But then she's like, we gotta go. And he goes, why? She goes, there's something in the basement. And she goes, you're not listening to me. And he's like trying to figure out what's going on. And I'm like, dude, just sleep, like she says. Anyway, he says, let me go down there and look. I'm like, really, dude? You're gonna go down this basement after she's all frantic and stuff? But I don't know if I would have or not. I'm not in that situation. Anyway, he goes down there and she says, just let me go down there and look. So she's like, okay, but if I was her, I'd have been like, see ya. But she waited on him, and then she kept calling his name. Then she went down there. Then when she opened up the door, she remembered the door shut on her and locked her in. This time she put a door in there, a chair to prop the door open. Well, she goes down there and she's calling him. He's not answering. She keeps going further down. He's not answering. And all of a sudden, she has this light, and she starts going through these creepy tunnels, and all of a sudden he came out like, and she's grabbing him, he's on his knees, and then when she went to grab him to help him up so they can get out of there, and then all of a sudden this big gigantic woman with boobs and stuff, look all deformed, and that it cut off, and then it cut to Justin's Long character, and he was an actor or something where he was an actor, and he forced himself on this chick, so it shows what he was going through. So he went to Detroit, and then he had it was owned by him. So then when he goes in there, he's calling, he goes, hey, who's been in here? Because he starts seeing all these clothes and stuff, and then he's like, because he owns the place, apparently he must rent it out. But then he's in trouble because they're going to take him to court because they think he raped this chick. He has something connected to the movie stars. So, you switch to that story. So this movie was a trip because I was like, what? And they said, okay. I said, all right. So then, he's trying to figure out who's in his house, and he called the woman, and the woman's like, he's being rude to her. She hung up on him. She goes, oh, really? Because he owns the place. Apparently, he must rent it out when he's not around. Anyway, he goes down the basement. He starts snooping around, and then he runs into that big gigantic chick, which is some disfigured chick, and then that thing throws him in this cage, and that woman's down there, and he's freaking out because that thing is all ugly and deformed. And then she's down there, and then this thing's trying to make him suck this baby bottle and all this kind of stuff. Look, I'll be 25, 30 minutes trying to explain this to you. I can see why it's sitting at a 92% Rotten Tomatoes. But I think it's a little slow at first because you're like, what kind of story are you telling? Where are you going from this? Because it jumped from one, then it jumped to the other. But it's really well made. But Justin Long, his character, man, he turned. At first, I was like, I kind of was feeling bad for him, but he turned out to be an asshole. If you catch my drift, you have to watch what he did to this girl because he was all about himself. I was buying into his character, and then he did what he did to that chick, which I ain't gonna say. But that was the part where they both escaped from that deformed tall chick. And here's what happened. I think that it goes back to a scene back in the day when the neighborhood was beautiful. And it was like a beautiful neighborhood, and there was this guy that lived there. And he went to the store and it showed him buying all this baby supplies and this woman was telling him, oh, you're expecting, so she helps him. And if you see what she helped him with, you can see that that was in that thing. And I think he was kidnapping women and he was breeding them himself, and then he would rebreed them, and then he ended up making that monster. That's the best way I could put it. But this movie is really, really good. I'm glad I bought it. And that's all I got to say, because I can go on and on and on. But this is a very good movie. Barbarian. My son told me about it. I got 5 kids total, but just one of my kids told me because we went out to dinner, and he said, hey, you need to check it out. So I checked it out, and it is very good. So God bless, take care, and we'll catch you in the next video. We'll see you. I didn't even want to go this long.